Hey guys, welcome back to In Search of Tone. Today on the channel, we are going to look at the Peavey Revolution. And by look at, I do mean look at as this particular amp I got off a marketplace listing with a myriad of other items for uber cheap. The amp itself was listed as in working order. I have yet to plug it in, and for one big reason. So as I was loading it up, there was a little bit of a rattle, and the handle's missing. So that leads me to believe that something fell inside. Possibly the previous owner was trying to fix something within the amp and just kind of got in over his head. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and we're going to strip this thing down. We're going to take a look inside and see what's going on. Now, I don't know much about these amps. What I do know is that these are stereo. And so my thought being, this might be a really, really good platform for using products like your Helix or your HX Stomp, or any other modeler that's out there right now, because they're all going to have that stereo option. But being that this is a solid state head, this might be just a real nice, clean platform. You should be able to use your IRs, everything, and then still be able to run that through a live cab. We will test that out later. I don't know if it'll be in this video or in a later one. We'll see you in a minute. All right, went ahead and saved all of the struggle and torment that went along with getting this guy out of the head shell. I gotta say too, man, Peavey, do we really need that heavy of a head shell? My goodness, the head shell alone probably weighs as much as my Marshall Origin. So, oh man, this thing, it's heavy. I mean, look at the transformers on this thing. This thing's freaking massive. And yeah, so you probably noticed right away we've got dual transformers here. Like I said, this is a stereo amp. Basically, the idea is you run your guitar in here. You've got a high and low gain input, kind of, as far as I know, that's pretty standard for Peavey. You do have, which is interesting, you have a ground switch. And so you can run it at 0, or you can change the polarity, which is kind of cool. And probably actually really good at certain venues. The amp itself does have stereo chorus built in, stereo reverb built in. You have a voicing, which I want to say your voicing is more of like an EQ for your lead and crunch channel, and then for your clean channel you have a pretty standard EQ. On the front here, let's see if we can see that a little bit better. You've got low, mid, high. It does have a push-pull for a bright cap. You have presence. As far as your gain channel, which, I mean, I think this is pretty Peavey standard. You've got your pre and post, but on your crunch channel, it's listed as your super saturation and your post gain. And then on your lead gain, you, again, have a push-pull, as well as on your voicing on the body, you have a push-pull. Interestingly enough, it looks like you have all kinds of different reverbs. You have A through P. And so I'm sure really that's just, I'm sure the letters don't really mean anything. It's just 1 through 10, 1 through 11, however many. And then you have an effect level, which I'm assuming is going to be your mix, not like a volume level. And then for your chorus, you have a depth and rate. Looks like the pot shaft for the master might be bent. That's cool. Either way, this might actually be a really good sounding solid state amp. So we kind of lucked out on that. I mean, I was worried about whatever was rattling around inside. I did find a couple of nuts and washers, that sort of thing. And it appears as though we may have been safe. But you never know. You know, you don't want to take chances. You got metallic objects floating around in electronics. That's never a good sign. So, looking at the board itself, I don't see anything burnt. It actually looks like kind of an easy board to work on. I mean, yeah, you'd have to pull this whole thing apart, remove it. Your solder joints are all on the opposite side. And if there are issues with the internals of the amp, obviously that's something that we're going to have to look at. But I think until then, we might actually be safe to run this thing, to be quite honest. Like I said, I don't see or smell anything burnt. I think we might have lucked out on that one. And so I think next step is we'll go ahead and we'll plug it into my Marshall 412 cab and just kind of see what we get. I went ahead and plugged into this guy, and pretty much exactly what I would expect for this. What's going on here is I don't know if the input jacks just need to be cleaned or if they should be replaced. I think to be on the safe side, I mean, they've got a little bit of corrosion to them. Probably just go ahead and replace them. As for all of the pots, I do believe a guy could get away with just cleaning these guys up a little bit. I think that's all it's going to need. So as far as tones go, on the clean channel, and that's the Seymour Duncan JB in the bridge, position 2. Middle pickup. That would be position 4. And then the neck pickup. It's not really a bad sounding amp, and honestly, I don't think so. The chorus, go ahead and turn the depth up on that. Let's go ahead and put it at 5. Nothing. So what I'm assuming is this chorus is only accessible by the foot switch, which is a MIDI foot switch, and I do not have that, unfortunately. But you can access the digital reverb. Like I said, them pots need to be cleaned, so you might hear some scratchiness there. Let's go ahead and put that at the level 5. Okay, that's the first one. Now, I don't know what each one of these is supposed to be. Wow. Kind of dark, got a lot of trails to it. Okay, let's go to the next one. Not much of a difference there. Still not much of a difference. I wonder if it's more of a voicing difference on some of these, like it's the same type of reverb, but just a little bit different voicing. See, like that one, it's got the same, the trails are pretty close, but it sounds just a little bit brighter to my ears. The next one. Yeah, I'd say that's the same kind of reverb. It's just a little bit longer trails. So that's got some very ambient stuff going on right there. I like that. On to the next one. See, now we're on to a completely different reverb. I think what we were at before is, you know, a little bit different of voicing, and then just slightly longer and longer and longer and longer trails. I want to say that other one must have been a plate. Let's go back to that. Yeah, it's definitely not a spring. That's got to be a plate. So I think when we get to this next one, that... I don't know. That kind of almost sounds like a room, but it's kind of... I don't know. So that sounds like a room. Up again. It's kind of weird. It's almost got kind of like a slapback thing going on. All right, on to the next one. See, that's more of a delay. That's not a reverb. Yeah, that's definitely a delay. I mean, it might have like a room reverb along with it, but I mean, that's definitely... Yeah. I think that's what you got going on there, is maybe just a slight room reverb with maybe a digital delay. And then that sounds more like a hall. Again, with a little bit of delay to it. On the next. And then I think we're back to... Oh, so that's A, which kind of sounds like a real short spring. Let's turn that mix level all the way up. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't have any springiness to it. Just maybe the tone of it, that kind of bright trail. I guess that could be a plate. Anyway, let's go. We're going to turn that off again with the noisy pots. And then, so to get to the gain channel, you go ahead and you pull out the volume knob. Okay, so on the gain channel, again, you're not getting the crunch channel, you're getting this lead channel. I I kind of messed around with it a little bit, and that ain't doing nothing. So this has to be a voicing that's only accessible by foot switch, unless, no, because this is an EQ shift. So even if, oh, that is pulled out. That doesn't seem to be doing much. So yeah, we're on this lead channel is basically where it's at. So on a lot of PV amps, your post gain is going to really be your volume, whereas your pre-gain or the super sat, as it's listed on here, is going to be your preamp gain. At 5, it's going to be a little bit more. As we kick that up. Now it is a noisy channel, and I kind of wonder if that has a little bit more to do with those inputs being just a little dirty or bad, or what's going on. And mind you, we are in the high gain input. I'm not going to even mess with the low gain because who knows what that's going to do for us. But oh, and we were actually in the higher gain mode on that. So that's about, I don't know, 1 o'clock, about 3 o'clock. Which, I mean, honestly, this is a good kind of crunch tone. Go all the way up. Now, let's go back to 1 o'clock because I kind of screwed up there and I had it on the higher gain mode. Okay, let's go about 3 o'clock. And all the way up. So, I mean, it's got, it's got some gain to it. Let's go back to 1 o'clock. So the EQ is interesting. So on the clean channel, your EQ is a pretty standard EQ. On this lead channel, like I said, it's a voicing. So I kind of messed around with this a little bit. None of that on your clean channel actually affects the lead channel, which actually kind of sucks because you've got that presence. But so what you have here is you have a bottom control. You can see it gets real fat or gets, just non-existent. And you'll notice that the numbers, instead of going like 1 through 10 or whatever, it's actually at noon you're at 0. And then you've got all the way to -15 or +15. Same, and that's going to be the same with your body and your edge. Now your body's going to be your mid. Turn that mid up just so we can really hear it. Now, when you pull this knob out, it shifts the mids. So, low mid, high mid. And then you're either boosting or you're pulling those out. And so that can make a huge difference there. And then your edge has got to be your overall high end. And it gets bitey. All right, so let's go ahead. So that doesn't change our hum at all. Quiet that guy down. All right, guys, so final thoughts on this thing. So I think for what it is, it actually It's pretty good. I mean, yeah, it's just a solid state amp. It's not going to be, I don't know, I guess the same. Um, but the sounds that I'm getting out of it are actually pretty good, and that's without really dialing it in. I think it has a lot of potential. Um, you could even say maybe it's a sleep ramp of sorts. I think honestly, where this thing's really going to shine is at a later time. We'll go ahead and set up the pedal board to run stereo, and I have a kind of chintzy homemade stereo cabinet that we can plug this thing into and actually see how it's going to react. Like I said, I'm going to have to clean this thing up a little bit more, do a little bit more work on it. And then I'll let you guys know in a future video kind of how this thing's working out. And we'll go ahead and we'll get some more sound demos with it and just kind of see what happens there. Again, I think, an amp like this, for as cheap as you can get it, and I do mean cheap. I mean, this one, dude sold to me for just stupid money, but you can find these $100, sub $100 on Reverb. It is heavy. I mean, you are not saving any weight by going with this over, a tube amp. I mean, shoot, just look at the transformers. I've seen smaller transformers on big 100-watt tube amps. It's just ridiculous. But as a platform to run a stereo signal, I don't know. I guess we'll see. And so with that, guys, I think we're going to have to call it good. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you like what we're doing here. And we'll see you on the next one.